NLE Choppa, aka the suburban goofy rapper, just dropped full song dedicated to the GOAT, NBA YoungBoy and NBA. YoungBoy just responded to this two-pack wannabe goofy. And the wildest part, Choppa used to be YB's biggest fan gang, but this ain't just about a diss track. This is about backdoor vibes, hypocrisy, and a desperate grab for relevance that could backfire in ways Choppa never expected. Like, bro doesn't know all it takes is one call from YB and it'll get NLE packed up and sent up. Here's the crazy part that makes this whole situation cut deeper than any regular beef. NLE Choppa used to worship NBA YoungBoy. No cap. Go back to 2018-2019. Choppa was copying everything. Same haircut with the dreads. Same aggressive flow and delivery. Same Louisiana-style energy, even though he from Memphis gang. He said in multiple interviews that YB was his favorite rapper and he wanted to collab with him. Bam. In one interview from early 2019, Choppa straight up said, "That's my favorite artist right there. I need a song with him." And type, Der Born. He was studying YB's music religiously, trying to capture that same raw emotion and street authenticity that made YB blow up in the first place. For real. You could see it in his early videos. The camera angles, the energy, the whole aesthetic was borrowed straight from NBA YoungBoy's playbook. Homie Shorty even made a song called Free YB when NBA YoungBoy was locked up in 2018. Gang, that's how deep the fandom was. He was publicly supporting him during his legal troubles, riding for him when a lot of other artists wouldn't touch him because of the controversy surrounding his cases. No cap. That song wasn't just a throwaway either, fam. Choppa was really trying to show solidarity with YB during a difficult time-type timing. But it gets even deeper than that, homie. People who were around Choppa back then say he used to study YB's interviews, practice his mannerisms, and even tried to adopt some of his slang and speaking patterns. Gang. This wasn't casual admiration. This was full-on obsession with becoming the next version of NBA YoungBoy. For real, this ain't regular beef between two artists who never liked each other. No cap. This is a former fanboy turned OP, which makes it way more personal, fam. It's like watching your little brother who used to follow you everywhere, copy everything you did, worship the ground you walked on, suddenly turn around and try to fight you, gang. The betrayal hits different when it comes from somebody who used to look up to you, who you probably would have helped if they asked type, karakteristic. And this pattern ain't new in hip-hop for real. We've seen it before with other beefs where the person going the hardest used to be the biggest fan homie. There's something psychological about it. Like they got to overcompensate and go extra hard to prove they not riding no more to prove they own. Man, now gang. It's like they embarrassed about how much they used to dick ride. So they flip completely to the other side to distance themselves from that image. No cap. How the beef started. 2019, the Instagram Live incident. Choppa was on Instagram Live just vibing, or so it seemed, when his homies in the background started calling YB fake and saying he ain't about that life, gang. They was being real disrespectful, questioning his street credibility, saying he just an industry plant who ain't really live what he rap about, fam. And Choppa, he just sat there not checking them, not defending YB, just letting it happen while he smiled and laughed. No cap. Now, Choppa tried to play it off afterwards like he wasn't co-signing what they said, like he couldn't control what his homies were saying in the background type. Ema. But here's the thing. Homie. When you on your Instagram Live with your platform and your audience and your people start dissing somebody you publicly claim to be a fan of, that's on you, gang. You're responsible for who you were around and what energy you let fly on your platform. For real. The optics were terrible, fam. Here's somebody who literally made a free YB song, who claimed YB was his favorite rapper who modeled his whole style after him. Now sitting there while his boys tear him down and not saying a word to stop it. No cap. That's when a lot of people, especially YB fans, started seeing Choppa different typey. YB fans immediately flooded Choppa's comments calling him fake, disloyal, snake behavior, geeky, all that gang. They was asking him why he didn't defend YB if he really with him like that. Why he let his homies disrespect somebody he supposedly looked up to for real. And instead of clearing the air, apologizing or explaining the situation, Choa just stayed quiet and let the tension build, homie. That silence spoke volumes. Bam. The Fredo Bang connection. Then Shorty started making moves that made everything worse and showed where his loyalty really was. Gang Choa started hanging with Fredo Bang, who's YB's main op from Baton Rouge, homie. And this ain't just casual beef, fam. Fredo and YB have been enemies for years over serious street iuwinigs, over G-Money's death, over territory and respect in Baton Rouge type. Cerdanis, this is deep-rooted hatred that's led to multiple deaths on both sides. No cap. So for Choa to link up with Fredo after the Instagram Live situation, that wasn't an accident, gang. That wasn't just two artists from different cities collaborating for real. That was NLE Choppa making a deliberate choice to align himself with NBA YoungBoy's enemy, knowing exactly what message that would send to YB and his fans. Homie. They didn't just hang out and take pictures either, fam. NLE Choppa and Fredo Bang made a whole song together called Gangster Talk, where they was throwing subliminals at NBA YoungBoy throughout the track type. The lyrics had references to situations and beef that anybody following the Baton Rouge scene would recognize as shots at YB gang. That officially crossed the line. You can't say you were just an innocent bystander when your homies was dissing YB on your live. But then you go make music with his op where y'all both taking shots at him. No cap. At this point, people started realizing this wasn't just about some offhand comments on Instagram Live for real. Chopper was making calculated moves to position himself against YB, probably thinking it would give him street credibility or help his career in some way, homie. The ex-girl situation. But the real disrespect, the move that took this from rap beef to personal vendetta, came when Choa started dating YB's ex-girl. Now, I ain't gonna say her name because that ain't the main point and she don't need to be dragged into this more than she already is. Fam. But in street code and in hip-hop culture, going after your idol's ex is a violation of the highest order type. This wasn't even a girl from years ago that everybody moved on from, no cap. This was recent enough that it felt intentional, like Choa was deliberately trying to get under YB's skin to prove some kind of point game. And Choa wasn't trying to keep it low-key either, for real. He was posting her on social media, making it public, really rubbing it in YB's face like, look what I got now, type timing. For somebody who used to worship YB to go and mess with his ex like that, that's not just disrespectful to YB, homie. That's disrespectful to yourself, to your own history, to everything you claimed to stand for when you were writing for him, fam. It showed that Choa's loyalty was never real to begin with, that he was always looking for ways to use YB's name. And now he found a new way to do it, gang. Siding with F. Then, when King Von died in November 2020 and all that Dirk versus YB beef was at its absolute peak, when tensions were higher than they'd ever been, NLE Choppa made his position crystal clear. No cap. He sided with Lil Durk and the F crew publicly and loudly. Fam Chopper was posting rest in peace, King Von showing love to Dirk in the comments, interacting with F members on social media, basically aligning himself with YB's enemies again during one of the most tense and dangerous periods in that whole beef gang. This wasn't just rap politics. People were really dying. The feds were really watching, and Choa decided that was the time to make his allegiance known for real. And let's be clear about the context, homie. The Dirk versus YB situation was and still is serious as hell type. Enkist. This ain't just two rappers making diss songs. This is years of actual violence. Death, federal investigations, RICO charges, all that, fam. So for Choa to inject himself into that situation by picking a side, that was dangerous and stupid on multiple levels, gang. At this point, it was crystal clear to everybody paying attention, Choa wasn't accidentally beefing with YB. No cap. He was intentionally choosing to be on the other side, making moves that he knew would be seen as ultimate disrespect. Probably trying to gain favor with the industry side that was against YB or trying to prove to the streets that he wasn't a YB dick rider anymore. For real, that's when NBA YoungBoy had enough, fam. YB dropped I Know and went full demon mode on NLE Choppa, threatening his whole family, talking about catching bodies, making it crystal clear this ain't just rap beef anymore. This is street sen with real consequences, gang. The bars were so vicious, so personal, So threatening that even hardcore fans was like, damn, he really hate this man. No cap. YB wasn't playing no games, wasn't doing subtle subliminals, wasn't leaving room for interpretation-type timing. He addressed Choa directly and made real threats about real violence for real. And you could hear the betrayal in YB's voice and lyrics, homie. This wasn't just anger at an op. This was the hurt of being backstabbed by somebody who used to claim to be your biggest fan gang. Think about it from YB's perspective, fam. Here's somebody. Perspective, fam. Here's somebody who you probably would have worked with if they came correct, who you probably had some level of respect for because they showed you love publicly, and now they doing songs with your enemies, dating your ex, siding with people who want you dead type. That betrayal probably hit YB harder than just regular OP beef. No cap. When your enemies hate you, that's expected. That's part of the game for real. But when somebody who claimed to love you turns on you, that's a different kind of pain. And you could hear it in how viciously YB went at Choa in that song, homie. The KO diss track. Fast forward to 2025 and we got this KO situation, fam. NLE Choppa drops a diss track at NBA YoungBoy, but with a twist that nobody really expected. Shorty came with this whole conscious rapper angle instead of traditional street threats gang. Now, for context, and this is important to understand where Choppa's head at. Around 2020 to 2021, Choa went through this whole spiritual transformation that he'd been promoting heavy ever since. No cap. He stopped rapping about violence, stopped claiming gang, started talking about meditation, veganism, positive energy, spiritual awakening, healing crystals, all that new age type stuff for real. He literally rebranded himself from a young, aggressive street rapper to a conscious, woke spiritual guide trying to help people elevate their consciousness. Homie changed his whole image, his message, even his sound to some degree type timing. So when people heard he was dropping a diss track at YB, there was confusion about how he would approach it given his new persona gang, and KO delivered on that confusion. Fam. Instead of coming with the typical diss track formula, threatening violence, questioning somebody's money or street credibility, talking about who tougher, Choa came with this conscious disc where he's trying to position himself as enlightened and YB as lost. No cap. Choa questioned whether YB really lives what he raps about, suggesting that he's just holding on to an image and a persona for his music instead of being genuine gang. He implied that YB is performing a character rather than being his authentic self, that he's trapped in this violent, destructive persona because it sells records, not because it's really who he is. Fam. This is actually one of the most disrespectful angles Choa could take for real. WB's whole brand, his whole career, his whole identity in hip-hop is built on authenticity, on being one of the realest artists who actually lived everything he talks about in his music. Homie. So, for Choa to question, that is attacking the very foundation of YB's artistry type. Reached? But here's where it gets ironic, gang. NLE Choppa is the one who used to copy YB, who used to model his whole style after him, who used to try to be YB too. Zero. No cap. So for him to now call YB inauthentic, that's some serious projection right there, fam. This is where Choa really leaned into his conscious rapper persona, homie. He said YB has nothing positive to contribute to hip-hop and is a bad influence on young people who listen to his music. That YB's content is leading kids down a path of violence, crime, and self-destruction. Gang, Choa positioned himself as trying to uplift the youth and bring positive messages while painting YB as this toxic force that's destroying young black lives through his music-type timing. He basically said YB's music is the reason kids are out there killing each other, going to prison, dying young, all that. Fam. Now, this accusation is heavy, no cap, because Choa is essentially blaming YB for systemic problems in black communities, for violence that exists for complex social and economic reasons, and putting it all on one artist's shoulders for real. That's not just a diss. That's trying to make YB responsible for the trauma and violence in entire communities, gang. But the hypocrisy here is wild, homie. Choa was rapping about the exact same violent content just a few years ago. Fam. Songs like Shaflo and Camelot were full of gun talk, murder references, gang affiliations. All the same content he's now criticizing YB for type in sings. Building on the last point, Choppa has specifically called out YB for promoting violence and negative behavior that leads kids to death or prison. For real, he said YB's music glorifies a lifestyle that ends with young black men in graves or cells, and that YB has blood on his hands for every kid who listened to his music and went out and did something stupid, homie. The problem with this angle is that it ignores the reality of what YB's music actually represents to his fans. No cap. For millions of young people, especially young black men from similar environments, WB's music isn't leading them to violence. It's giving voice to the violence and pain they already experiencing. Fam Choa implied that WB uses other people to do things he wouldn't do himself, that he's not really about that life he portrays, that he's got people around him handling his dirty work while he stays clean and collects checks. Gang, this is especially problematic coming from Choa because YB's street credibility is documented and well known. Fam YB has been in shootouts, been shot himself, lost close friends and family to violence, been through the system multiple times, no cap, called him emotional. Choa suggested that YB makes decisions based on emotions instead of logic, that he's reactive and hot-headed rather than calculated and smart, that he's controlled by his feelings instead of thinking things through, homie. In street terms and hip-hop culture, calling somebody emotional is basically calling them weak, saying they can't control themselves, that they move off feelings instead of strategy gang. The video for KO is where Choa really doubled down on his conscious warrior approach. Fam, the video featured a YB lookalike. Same dreads, same style, same aesthetic, everything designed to make it obvious who he's talking about gang. The most memorable scene is when Choa snatches a cigarette out of the fake YB's mouth in this dramatic slow-motion moment type timing. In Choppa's mind, this is supposed to symbolize him trying to wake up NBA YoungBoy, trying to get him to stop destroying himself with his negative lifestyle, trying to guide him toward a better path, homie. The video featured heavy symbolic imagery, light versus darkness, Choa in bright environments, fake YB in dark spaces, consciousness versus ignorance, Choa meditating and reading, fake YB surrounded by chaos. Choa went all in on this spiritual warrior trying to save a lost soul vibe. For real. The whole aesthetic was less I'm going to get you and more, I'm trying to help you see the light. No cap. The hypocrisy nobody talking about. Here's the elephant in the room, fam. The hypocrisy in NLE Choppa's entire approach, gang. Choppa has been preaching for years about positivity, consciousness, spreading good energy, and leaving beef behind, right? He talks constantly about meditation, veganism, healing trauma through spiritual practices, about how violence and negativity are lower vibrations we need to evolve past. No cap. So, with all of that messaging, with all of that supposed spiritual evolution, homie, he drops a diss track going at somebody's neck. How is that positive energy, gang? How is making a song attacking another artist consciousness, fam? If you really about peace and unity like you claim, why engage in beef at all type 114? Why not just focus on your message and let YB do his thing for real? The fact that Choa felt the need to make this diss track contradicts everything he's been preaching. No cap. And let's keep it 100. NBA YoungBoy ain't even been thinking about NLE Choppa lately, homie. YB is one of the biggest artists in hip-hop with billions of streams, making millions, dealing with legal issues, taking care of his kids, gang. He ain't losing sleep over what Choa doing for real. This whole "I'm trying to wake you up and save you" angle feels less like genuine concern and more like Choa trying to get WB's attention and insert himself back into relevancy. Fam, it's giving notice me energy dressed up in spiritual clothing type timing. Think about it. Dissing NBA YoungBoy is going to get Choa more attention in streams than anything else he could drop right now, gang. YB's name carries weight. His fanbase is massive and will discuss anybody who goes at him. No cap, that's free promotion that money can't buy. And Choa's team knows this for real. So, even though Choa using this conscious approach, it still feels like a strategic clout move at its core, homie. The packaging is different, but the motivation seems the same. Get attention by going at a bigger name gang. Based on YB's history, here's what could happen. He ignores it completely. YB been on a wave lately where he don't engage with everybody who mentions his name gang. He might look at Choa as beneath him and not worth the energy. No cap. YB's got bigger concerns. Legal battles, music releases, business ventures, his family. For real. Wasting time on NLE Choppa might not even register as important enough to address. Homie, if YB responds, it won't be conscious or spiritual, fam. It's going to be murder references, threats, that raw street energy he's known for, and it'll be brutal, gang. Brutal, gang. When YB feels disrespected, he don't hold back. And if he decides Choa crossed enough lines to warrant a response, it's going to be vicious. No cap. Sometimes YB addresses stuff through Instagram captions or interviews without making a whole song-type timing. He might drop some cryptic posts, some bars in his next freestyle, some comments that let everybody know he ain't worried about Choa, but also ain't letting the disrespect slide completely for real. YB's got one of the most dedicated fan bases in hip-hop, homie. They already tearing Choa apart in comments since KO dropped Gang. YB might just sit back and let his fans do the work, which is actually more powerful in some ways because it shows he don't even need to respond personally. His supporters got his back regardless, fam. My prediction, YB probably won't respond directly with a full disc track. No cap. He's been moving different lately, more focused on his career and legal situation than engaging in every beef that comes his way type. But we'll probably hear some subliminal shots in his next songs. Bars that Choa and fans will know are about him without YB saying his name directly for real. And honestly, not responding directly might be more disrespectful, gang. It's basically saying you're not important enough for me to waste a song on, which cuts deeper than any bars could, homie. That I don't even think about you energy sometimes hurts more than direct threats, fam. The bigger picture. On one side, you got NBA YoungBoy representing raw, authentic street rap that don't apologize for being dark and violent, gang. His music is real, a reflection of life in America's poorest neighborhoods, experiences that millions relate to. No cap. On the other side, NLE Choppa represents conscious rap trying to bring positivity back to hip-hop, fam. He's saying we need more balance, more uplifting messages instead of just violence and materialism for real. Both perspectives have validity, homie. Hip-hop needs artists like YB who keep it real and don't sugarcoat harsh realities, gang. But hip-hop also needs conscious artists promoting positive messages. No cap. The problem is when either side acts like their way is the only right way type. When Chota says YB for making negative music, he's dismissing the experiences and realities that YB is expressing. Fam, hip-hop is big enough for both lanes to exist for real. So, what y'all think? Is NLE Choppa really trying to help the culture? Or is this just a clout move by going at one of the biggest names in hip-hop, gang? Should YB respond? And if so, how demon mode or ignore it completely? Drop your thoughts in the comments, fam. And what about this conscious diss track approach? Is that the future of hip-hop beef? Or is it contradictory to everything Choa claims to stand for? No cap. One thing for sure, this beef got the whole community talking, and we're going to keep you all updated on any developments for real. If YB responds, if Choa says something else, we'll be here breaking it all down, gang.